Election season is starting to pick up some steam after the debacle at the Iowa caucuses. Voters in New Hampshire nearly decided to throw their support behind Senator Bernie Sanders.
But if you watched any campaign season, momentum is important, and Sanders has some strong candidates right behind him. Government reporter Joe Bruno spoke to Sanders in Uptown today, starting with a discussion about Sanders' opponent back in 2016.
Senator, thank you so much for doing an interview with us.
My pleasure.
Secretary Clinton lost North Carolina in 2016. What is it about your campaign that will flip this state blue?
Well, I think we have the kind of volunteer grassroots movement that we need to win the state. We have an enormous amount of energy and excitement. By the time this campaign is over, we're going to be knocking on hundreds of thousands of doors in the state, making the phone calls. And more importantly, I think we have the agenda that speaks to the needs of working families who for too long have felt that their needs have been ignored. I mean, we're talking about raising that minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour, demanding that the wealthiest people, largest corporations start paying their fair share of taxes, making public colleges and universities tuition free, and finally, doing what presidents have talked about for 100 years, making sure that the United States joins every other major country on earth, guarantees health care to all people as a human right through a Medicare for all single-payer system.
Some of your priorities are Medicare for all, eliminating student loan debt, eliminating medical debt. How do you pay for those priorities?
Well, at a time when we have a massive level of income and wealth inequality, at a time when in the last 30 years, the top 1% have seen a $20 trillion increase in their wealth, I think we know how we can pay for these things. Look, right now we have an effective tax rate for working families, which is actually lower than it is for billionaires. That's insane. We have major corporations that are not paying a nickel in taxes despite making billions of dollars in profit. So we're going to have a progressive tax system. We are not going to put tens of billions of dollars in subsidies and tax breaks into the fossil fuel industry. We're going to transform our system away from fossil fuel. We're not going to have to spend more money on the military than the next 10 nations combined. So there are ways that we can protect the middle class and working class of this country, which has been so battered for so many years, and tell the wealthiest people who now have it just extraordinarily well, they're doing phenomenally well, they're going to have to help us and pay their fair share of taxes.
You've mentioned a tax on Wall Street to eliminate student loan debt. Charlotte's the second largest banking city in the country. How would a tax on Wall Street impact the Queen City?
Well, I think that, 11, 12 years ago, the taxpayers of this country bailed out the crooks on Wall Street, whose illegal behavior nearly destroyed our economy. And I think at a time when Wall Street profits are soaring, it is totally appropriate to say to them that we should have a modest tax on Wall Street speculation, and we use that funding to not only cancel all student debt in this country, but to make public colleges and universities tuition free. I want to live in a country where all kids, regardless of their income, understand that if they do well in school and they're serious about their studies, they will be able to get a higher education regardless of their income. That's what this is about.
Here in North Carolina, your candidacy is on the rise, and so is Michael Bloomberg's. Do you believe that Mr. Bloomberg's 2015 comments on stop and frisk are disqualifying?
I wouldn't use the word disqualifying. I mean, I think that tells us where he is coming from. I think his opposition in the past to raising the minimum wage is a problem for him. I think, but I'll tell you what the main problem I have with Bloomberg. He has every right in the world to run for president. He's an American citizen. He does not really, in my view, have the right to buy this election. He is spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on TV commercials, and that's what you can do when you're worth $60 billion. But I happen to be old-fashioned and kind of believe that democracy is one person, one vote. I'm proud that we have raised more campaign contributions from more people than any candidate in the history of American politics, averaging $18 apiece. We have a grassroots movement. Bloomberg says, hey, I'm going to run for president. Oh, hey, so I'll spend a few $1 billion. It doesn't matter. I have $60 billion. I don't think that's what American democracy is supposed to be about.
Representative Butterfield said today that you being at the top of the ballot would have a negative impact on the candidates on the bottom of the ballot. How do you believe your presidential campaign, what effect do you think that would have on Senate and House races in the state?
I think he is dead wrong. I think our campaign is the strongest campaign to defeat Trump. And to defeat Trump, we're going to need a record-breaking voter turnout. I think our campaign has the energy, has the excitement to speak to working people, bring them back into the political process, certainly back into the Democratic Party, speak to young people, get them involved in the political process. And when you have a record-breaking voter turnout for the Democrat at the head of the ticket, it is going to trickle on down to all Democratic candidates.
Today on Twitter, President Donald Trump said that you are being rigged out of the nomination. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I know that Donald Trump is just staying up nights worried about me. I am just so sure that he's really crying and very upset. Look, Donald Trump is trying to divide Democrats in any and every way that he can. I personally happen to believe, and it makes me sad to have to say this, but we have a president who is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country, somebody who does not believe in our Constitution, somebody who does not understand the separation of powers, somebody who is attacking the media, attacking the judiciary, attacking Congress, attacking everybody. He is moving this country into an authoritarian type of society, and I don't think the American people are going to go for that.
Senator Sanders, I think my time's up. Thank you so much for the interview.
And we just learned President Trump is planning a campaign rally here in Charlotte March 2nd at 7 p.m. at Bojangles Coliseum in East Charlotte. You'll remember he was just in town last week speaking to a crowd at CPCC. He told me then that he's looking forward to the RNC here in Charlotte.